Welcome to my channel. I'm Mariah. I'm gonna wait a little because I like waiting until a lot of people come before I start because I don't want anyone to miss this information. This topic is actually really important to me because as some of you may know, I do have mental health struggles that have been dealing with for 18 years now. So I just think especially with all that's going on in the world, like, let's be honest, throughout the history of time, I'm pretty sure mental health issues were a thing. Just maybe people didn't really know about them as much. Um, and I've definitely seen a lot of people struggling with mental health more recently, and I don't know if that's because of what's going on in the world, which is probably accurate, but there's probably also um, just a lot of stress and other things going on. Oh, hi. Okay, so today's topic of this live stream is called how to help someone who's going through a mental health crisis. First, I want to say that I'm not doing this topic to mock anyone who's going through a mental health crisis or has gone through a mental health crisis. Second, I have had many mental health crises during my 18-year battle with depression, suicide ideation, and suicidal attempts, unfortunately. Third, oh, and hi. Um, Third, decided to do this topic because I want people who have struggled and are currently struggling with mental health crisis to know that they aren't alone. Fourth, I want everyone to know that I'm not a doctor or an expert in mental health. I just am someone who loves helping people and also who's someone who's gone through mental health issues throughout my life. So I want to tell people know that they're not alone. And fifth, I want everyone to know that mental health issues are considered an invisible disability, which I didn't know. I found this out years ago when I did this video on visible versus invisible disabilities. I didn't know that mental health was had its own category under disabilities or invisible disabilities. Before I get started with today's topic on how to help people who are going through a mental crisis, I want to say that all the tips that I mentioned below came from my mind and are based on my own personal experiences with mental health crises. Okay, the first tip that I would say during a mental health crisis, it is important not to be alone physically. The reason I say don't be alone physically is because when you are alone during a mental crisis, you are more likely to self-harm or attempt suicide. And unfortunately, I know this from personal experience because when I'm alone, that's when I get more internalized in my thoughts and like in a darker space. And when you're alone, unfortunately, you're isolated, so you don't really, how do I say it? You don't really feel like you have anybody there, so you're more internalizing everything, and you feel when you feel alone, when you actually are alone and you feel more alone, then you feel like you don't have anything to lose. Just that's at least that's my opinion on my own because I've been through my own, but I know everyone else probably thinks differently, so I'm not gonna say that's how everyone feels, but that's just personally I think that's important. Tip number two, during a mental crisis, it's important to reach out to someone that you can trust completely. And the reason I say reach out to someone that you trust completely is because you're normally in this state, you're in a vulnerable headspace, and you would want someone who you trust to possibly bring you out of that delicate, vulnerable headspace. Because typically, when you're in that state, you're not thinking rationally. Well, I guess I don't mean to say it as in like you can't think rationally, but the thoughts you're thinking are already very negative. So you're more likely to act off of those thoughts if you don't have anyone you can reach out to. Like even if it's not person, it doesn't have to even be in person. It could be like for me, I text people sometimes when I'm in that space, or since I live with my parents and my siblings, if I'm in that space and I don't actually have anyone to actually text or they don't reach back out to me, I will go to one of my parents or my siblings. I also have You Just mantra, which I'll tell you about later. That actually has helped me a lot and saved me from like actually committing suicide. And I don't say that, it's just the truth. I'm not gonna lie about it. Tip number 3: during a mental health crisis, and if you aren't alone, ask someone to remove everything that you could use to self-harm or use for suicide attempts out of your area. And for me, because I've been through this, like I when I the way I gave all the stuff that I would use to my mom, because I know that if it's not in my area, I won't use it, because when I do get in that headspace, that's literally what I think about going to. So I purposely, when I was in a good headspace, I told my mom, I said, can you please take all this stuff and keep it where I can't get access to it? And for tip number 3, if you don't have, if you actually are alone in an unsafe space or an environment, where there is risk and the threat of self-harm is high, please find somewhere where it's safe. You can go until you feel like you're in a healthy headspace. And sorry, I'm not really engaging with the chat, but I see everything you're saying. And I'm grateful that you're interacting with each other. This topic I know is probably hard for you both to listen to, but and let's be honest, this is probably hard for most people to talk about. But because of how it seems like suicide is very taboo for some people. For me, it's this topic is difficult for me to talk about only because I don't want anyone to think what I'm saying is a reason to try to self-harm, which is actually really terrible. That's the reason why this video is very scary for me to do, because I'm scared that some of these tips people might think there's a joke and actually might try to attempt suicide, which I really hope does not happen. Oh my gosh, that actually petrifies me. Tip number 4, during a mental health crisis, try your best to fight the negative thoughts by thinking positive and kind thoughts about yourself. I know that's hard, let's be honest. When you're in a mental health situation, your negative thoughts always normally, like, let's be honest, they probably are way a lot easier to access than your positive thoughts, because you're in a very vulnerable place where you kind of feel defeated typically when you're in, at least for me, I know when I'm in my when I feel really low and like on the cusp of committing suicide or even contemplating about it, I don't feel any positive thoughts. I just feel like really negative thoughts. Um, yeah, so I know that can be hard. That tip can probably be hard for people to do. So I know I have tried it sometimes with thinking more positively when I'm in a mental health crisis, if I'm not too far gone yet, but it doesn't always work. I'm just gonna say that right there. That doesn't always work. It doesn't. Tip number 5. During a mental health crisis, you should be able to vent to your trusted person without judgment. The trusted person should just be there to listen and comfort you. They should not. One thing I will say, the trusted person there should not be there to just trying to talk you out of it, because in my opinion, at least personally, because I've been through this, when if the person that you are talking to tries to talk to you out of it or say that you're selfish for your thoughts, that might not be an actual trusted person. That just might be somebody that maybe you should avoid in that situation. Because I was talking to my dad about this earlier, and I said to him, oh, my mom too, and I said, when a person makes you feel like what you're doing is wrong, okay, it may be wrong at the time for them, but to you it feels right. So when you're trying to put your own perception on a person when they're in a negative spot or in a place that is very dark, you don't want to do that, because in at least in my personal experience, when you put say, for example, say I'm in a really bad space, someone's saying I'm being selfish in the way I'm acting and stuff, it makes you want to harm yourself more, because you're in the way you're basically kind of saying that their feelings aren't valid. And that's I think the reason why I think it's important for the trusted person not to say anything. They should just listen. Um, but that's just my opinion. What do I know? I've only been through this, but I don't know if that's everyone's perspective on it. But that's how I think about it. Um, yeah, yeah, I agree. It does make you feel the opposite because I've had my aunt had said this to me one time that I was being selfish. So I understand that, but I mean, I but at the same time, I think because when you haven't personally gone through it, I feel like sometimes you have a misperception of what you think someone should be, should how someone would respond in that or in that instance. Sorry, my brain is has a lot of thoughts in it. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Tip number 5. During a mental health crisis. Oh yeah, I already said that one. Sorry. And this number 6, which is the last tip, is during a mental health crisis, if you feel you need to seek professional help if you can. The reason, and I will say I have seek professional help because after my suicide attempts over almost 3 years ago now, my two major ones, I've had a lot of them, but these two actually almost claimed my life. So at that point, I knew no one told me to get help. I knew I needed help because if I didn't get help, I probably would just be, let's be honest, I'd probably be dead right now. Because that's how committed I was to trying to take my life at that point. Because it was just something I had gone through. So I just kind of gave up on myself. I'm glad it didn't work, but in that time, I was like kind of committed to, let's be honest, the negative part of mental health, which is unfortunately a thing. Um, I there's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help if it's what's needed. For me, I'm glad I've seek. I don't know how to say it in past tense. I guess I'm glad that I got some help. That's better. Um, and I'm not laughing because it's funny to get help, but I was laughing because I didn't really know how to say it. Okay, this is a personal mantra that I use when some of you might have known what it is because I've said it before. This is a personal mantra that I use when I'm in a mental health crisis and I'm almost very close to being very far gone, I guess is what I'd say. This is the mantra I use. It's okay, so it's don't use a permanent solution to a temporary problem. When I'm actually in the my crisis point past the point of no return, this is the one thing that actually helps me snap myself out of it, even when I think all hope is gone. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me because it reminds me that even though the problem seems extremely big at the time, it's not as big as if I were to commit like suicide, like all of course, and die. Like that would be honestly, that'd just be you'd just be done. Let's be honest. And so for me, I thought when I use this mantra after a while, I think about what the effects of my death would cause to a lot of people, like my family and people that I love, and like people beyond people that I actually know that have been impacted and I didn't know. I think of the harm I would cause them, and I wouldn't want to cause them that because um I just don't want anyone to have to grieve because unfortunately I watch a lot of true crime. I mean, I watch a lot of true crime and I see all the devastating effects when people die, what the effects it causes people, and I don't want that for anybody. And I know not a lot of well throughout my life I've struggled a lot with mental health, and I know it's probably gonna be something I struggle with for the rest of my life. But um, I just want I just want everyone to know that it's okay to struggle with it, and it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to not have to, and it's okay to not want to like share about it. That's okay. Like I just think that being what was I gonna say? Just being real with the people that you trust is like the most important thing because if you have people that you trust, it can always I don't know. I feel like sometimes when things seem hard, it's not as hard as we think it is. I mean, at the time, it seems like the hardest thing, but as you get past it, it's not as hard as you think. Um, I don't know. I'm trying. I mean, I have my days where I don't have like the best good days mentally, but then I have my days where it's very good. It's kind of weird because I never thought I'd have days where they're really good because dealing with mental health issues for 18 years, off and on, some are worse than others. Like, I don't, it was, to me, I remember when I was with my therapist, I used to tell her, it's weird to actually feel actually happy because I didn't really know what that's like, at least that I'm aware of. I know before the age of 8, I was a happy child. I don't know what that was like because I don't remember any of that. Um, and I think that's because of the emotional trauma that was done at 8 years old. So all of that, basically before 8, was erased in my brain because I think my brain might have safeguarded that so it would never be damaged. But I don't know. I just hope this video helps somebody because I don't really know if sometimes I'm not sure if my words matter. I know they do, but in the concept of um I don't know. I just really hope this helps somebody because I don't know who needs this. I feel like somebody needs this video and I really hope it helps because for me talking about mental health is hard because I feel like when something is very personal, it is very a lot more harder to talk about than when it's not saying it's impersonal, it's not hard to talk about, but when it's very personal and something you've actually struggled through with, it's harder to speak on than when it's something that's not as dear to your heart. Um, oh, and I'm sorry, I feel bad for not reading your comments. I mean, I see them, but I kind of like, I feel so bad. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, sorry, I'm reading. Yeah, see, I agree. Like, I think, honestly, I think sometimes when I think about my life, I mean, I always think, like, what have I actually done and that? But then sometimes I'm like, I was telling my dad and I tell other people, I said, the reason I believe that I'm actually still alive is because my purpose is to help other people. And I think because it's not done, like, I can't, like, be done with life. And not that I want to be done with life, but sometimes life is just, like, a lot, you know? And I know people are like, people are probably like, what, Mariah? I don't know. I just feel like for me, I take things a lot harder than most, and my emotions are so extreme. I can go from being extremely happy to being extremely sad to being anxious to it's like a whole mix of like emotions. I don't know if that's an autistic thing, a Mariah thing, or something else, but because like I said, I don't really understand all the facets of myself because like I said, I don't really know people like in person like me, so it's hard for me to know. I mean, I've like through working with kids, I see myself in some of them. I've seen myself in some of them, but when I was their age, I didn't have anyone that I really related to because I didn't know enough I feel like throughout my childhood, at least growing up in the 90s, I mean, I was born in 92, but the point is, growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, I didn't really understand the concept of all this stuff with disabilities, and, like, I think it made me harder on myself, and, well, honestly, figuring out you were different when you didn't realize you were different, not that it's bad to be different, it's not at all, but because I didn't realize, because I unfortunately, with the emotional trauma that was done at 8, it made me feel like being different was a bad thing, even though I know it's not now, but back then I did because it made me think being different was going to get you bullied because that was the trigger I had when I first found out I was different, but I don't really know. I know everyone doesn't have the same experiences that I have. Everyone has different experiences, and I try to negate that purpose. Oh yeah, I forgot to say this point. I know I said earlier though. The last thing I want to say on this topic was that you're not alone, and I'm here for anyone who needs to talk. need someone to talk to. I know I'm not the greatest at these live streams. I'm trying my best because for me, I feel like doing things live is a little bit different than doing re-recorded videos because you actually get to see all my little intricate, like, I don't know, mistakes on camera, and I feel like it's different because it's in live time. So I'm like, it's, I don't know, I feel like a little bit exposed even though I'm not. Um, but maybe it's because I'm shy, because I am shy, very, actually very, very shy. I don't know if anyone can tell that. I do. I'm so glad you like them, and that makes me happy because, as I was telling, like, I talk to my parents a lot. I know it's probably weird, but, um, I definitely think that, people, like, I don't know, when people tell me things, because I'm very hard on myself. People would, I think it's said in society or somewhere that you're your hardest critic. I believe that's true. I'm very hard on myself, so, I don't know. I kind of I just because I want people to take something of value from the things I do, particularly with the videos and the live streaming, because this is so important to me. And I know people are like, well, you don't get paid for it. It's not the point. The point is because I love the disability community that I'm part of and that I actually get to bring value to and let them be seen and heard. That I put my whole heart into it. So when I feel like it's not seen and heard by some people, it breaks my heart. And I know people are probably like, well, I shouldn't take it that personally, but I do because literally, this helping the disability community like actually makes my heart so happy. And so when I don't feel like it's seen as valuable, and I know I shouldn't take it this way, and I don't know, it's probably because I have a soft heart. I just want the disability community to be seen and heard. So for me, um, um, when I don't feel like it's being heard, it makes me fight harder, which is probably a good and bad thing because I don't know. I feel like I can be a powerhouse, but then I'm like I can't. Oh. See, I can't keeping up with the chat is hard a little bit, and I'm talking, but then I'm like, oh, it goes. Then imagine if there's a lot more people in here. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I miss like all the chat. I feel terrible when that happens, especially because when live streaming between live streaming and actually video uploading is different. Because when you're live streaming, you see the chats, but then if you miss it, you kind of can't. You can go back, but it feels weird because you're like already past the part of the message coming through. Oh, and one thing I learned that I didn't always know how to do is smile. So like when you see me smiling here, it's a genuine smile, which is kind of weird because I'm not used to it. The person that got me into I don't know, my dad was one of the people. He never forced me to smile. No one in my family ever forces me to do anything, which is amazing because I know not everyone has that. But my dad is the person that wanted me to smile more. Someone else on it, I don't know if he still watches my channel, but I think it was either my first subscriber or one of my first subscribers was like, Mariah, you should smile more. And it actually made me consciously think about smiling. Now I just do it effortlessly, but because smiling is not something natural to me. Yeah, I know it's a weird tangent, but it's the truth. Yeah, okay. So, oh, I'm like, I feel so weird. I'm like going off on tangent. Oh, guys. Oh, yes. And the next live stream is going to be on the top. It's going to be on Saturday, February 3rd at noon EST, and it's going to be a live Q&A on EDS, which is I can't even speak, sorry. Danlos syndrome. Yeah, you can see my pronunciation problems. You see my dyslexic side coming out. I'm not ashamed of it. I used to be ashamed of a lot of my, differences or disabilities because of the trauma that was attached to them, unfortunately. I'm curious to see what questions you guys come up with. I already typed up information, but I also have some stuff on my tablet that I have open for links for that, just in case there's questions that I don't have the information like readily available because I didn't actually type it in my notes. And whenever you see me looking off screen, I'm looking at my laptop because I write my notes up, even though probably people don't like that, but as well, because I have to have it there because my brain, like it has, this is the way it organizes, that's the way it organizes information. And I learned this, when I was about in sixth grade, how to organize my thoughts because I didn't always know how to do this. So when it actually helps a lot. This is, yeah, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, but I don't feel bad about that. I love all of you guys. You make me smile, and hope that you guys have a great day or night, or I don't know wherever you live. I don't know what time it is there. So night, I guess afternoon, day, night, evening time. Uh, thanks for oh, see, you understand. I pre-plan out my stuff. I know it's probably weird. So I'm like in I planned so far I planned out until I'm in March notes, I think. March for live streaming notes, and I'm up to, hold on. I have to plan up to, I'm on June for planning for my pre-planned video stuff, but I have to actually record the videos for April, May, and June. Yeah, I know. It's probably like what, Mariah? Well, I had to pre-plan in advance because I was recording stuff on my work laptop before I gave it back to them, and then I had to order my new laptop. And the reason I pre-planned it in advance is because I knew I was gonna have my work laptop, and I knew issues were gonna happen with my other laptop that I used to have, and I got my new laptop. This whole thing. So, like, I don't know. And whoever did the hearts, I'm like smiling. I don't know who did it because I saw it release. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you guys have awesome days, okay? Bye.